Whenever, is it working? We try to tape these and get them online and to help people with information that they may not have received yet, okay, or if they want to rewatch it. But first and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here. One of the big things with coming in is that you are making an effort to really step beyond and learn something that's really, really going to be beneficial for you. One of the big things that I ask is be open with your mind, so when you leave, you have actually learned something, and make sure that you understand everything that's going on. If you have questions about what I talk about, I can answer them throughout the week. If you want to set aside time, I can sit down and answer a lot of the questions. If you want copies of this, what I'm going to be talking about, please ask me and I can get you copies of it. More importantly, this is the adjustment of your minds. Okay, B.J. Palmer said, he's a developer of chiropractic, said that 90% of the time the subluxation is above atlas. Atlas is the top bone in your cervical vertebra. So he's talking about your brain, okay, because it can have a real effect on it. And you have to really be open to it and understanding everything that's going on, because I could adjust you and adjust you. You could come in for some sort of pain or something of that nature. But honestly, I'm really more concerned about you becoming active and an active participant, and becoming healthier and doing things that are working you towards a better life, okay? Because ultimately, we're given one spine, we're given one life. Let's live it to the fullest, and that's what I would like to see for everybody here. Having said that, there's been a lot of talk over the past 15 or 20 years about genetics and the Genome Project and everything that's going on. There was a really good book written by the gentleman that headed the Genome Project, and I can't remember the name of it. I have it sitting on my shelf over there. And he's actually a devout Christian, and most of the people that were on the Genome Project were, hey Laura, did everybody sign in?
Not yet.
Okay, if you could just sign in, pass it around to anybody who was not. And a lot of the people that were on the Genome Project are actually atheists, because there are scientists that they don't believe or whatever it is. I'm not here to tell you what to believe or what not to believe. That's up to you. What I'm going to show you is facts about what's going on and how your body actually heals, and that genetics isn't the end-all be-all. Okay, and having said that, we're going to talk about a subject called epigenetics. Okay, really a very, very new field, relatively in the scientific terms. The Bruce Lipton, who is a gentleman that I'll be citing in a little bit, is definitely one of the forefathers of this. He's one of the ones that was starting to study things back in the late 60s, when he found that it wasn't just the genome that was changing it, but the environment around you that affected things. And I'll refer to some of the things that he talked about. So it's important to understand that process that's going on. So is it really genetic? So I asked this question: who here thinks family histories are important? Look, everybody's hands go up. Okay. Why is a family history important?
Because that's the source of what makes you.
Okay. All right.
Hereditary macular degeneration.
Okay, right, and that's a specific gene. There are certain genes that you can't change. Hey Loretta, there are certain genes that you can't change, but there's something that you're going to see in this presentation that will open up your eyes, no pun intended, okay, and open up your mind to the possibilities that could have occurred and why they occurred. Okay, so those are the big things. That we'll be looking at. Now, it's interesting because I refer to this book a lot. As you can see, I've read it probably many times. And the reason I refer to it a lot is because all the stuff that this gentleman does is research. It's all from research. It's all everything from that. So this is something about family history, okay? Think about family history for a second. I love family history because it is such a great way to expose the lack of logic so often applied within the gene-centric sickness and treatment paradigm. It's one of the first things you learn to ask as any healthcare practitioner, and it's just completely devoid of any recognition of the importance of environment or of epigenetics. Think about that statement. It never looks to how the families are living, what environment they're in, what habits that they have that they teach their children. Think about that statement, okay? It's not just genes, okay? So you have to really look at it. Imagine a hunter-gatherer who was the first generation exposed to white flour, white milk, and white sugar. They inevitably develop chronic illnesses and go see the expert in the white coat, who immediately asks, does he or she been trained, and ask if there's any family history of whatever illness they diagnose. They answer no. In the history of my people, there has never been obesity or diabetes, or whatever their diagnosis is. The expert in the white coat writes down the response, offers little or no explanation as to the care of this chronic illness, and of course says take these pills. Okay, so you think about it, this is what he's trying to say here is that a lot of the things that we've exposed ourselves over the years, okay, is what has changed our dynamics of health. Over the last 40,000 years, our genes have only changed 0.2%. So why is it that over the last 100 years we've become one of the sickest species on the planet?
What we're putting into our body, environment.
Environment has something to do with it. That's what epigenetics talks about. Okay, because they're so focused on the gene saying that this is what causes your issue that they're forgetting that there's a whole issue surrounding it. Okay, so having said that, what I look at is I always start with a definition. Epigenetics literally means above or on top of the genetics. It refers to external modifications to DNA that turn genes on or off. This is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have a specific gene doesn't mean it has to be on. And we're going to talk a little bit, there's another study that I'll refer to later. So think about it, everybody knows the DNA, what it looks like, what it's called? A helix, right? So it sort of looks, you've seen this picture? Okay, and we'll look at something. So if I take a piece of this here and explode it, this is made of some, a certain amount of, they call it CG, A, and T. They're different markers, and they pair together. There's certain proteins, and then on top of that, there are protein markers that have certain shapes, or like this, and then there's something in here that may turn this on, that will turn this gene on. So what ends up happening is if this piece here is missing and it never turns this on, this gene will never be expressed. Think of it as a library. Okay, when you go into a library, okay, and there are how many books in a library? Many, yeah, a lot. Does anybody go into libraries anymore?
Yes.
Okay, good. It's good to see that Marshall let you go into a library. I'm really excited about that. But the thing is, when you go into a library, there's thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of books. Okay, and there is no way in the world that you can. Hey, Sam.
Hi.
When'd you sneak in?
Just now.
Okay. If someone has the sign-in sheet, can you just hand it to that gentleman? There's no way to express the knowledge of each one of those books. Okay, you pick out certain books and then you express the knowledge as wisdom. Okay, that's pretty much the way your gene pool works. Okay, it's turned on, and you can literally pick and choose which ones are turned on by certain lifestyle habits that you have. So it's important that you understand that concept when we go through this. Epigenetics is the study of the process by which genetic information is translated into the substance and behavior of an organism. Specifically, the study of the way in which the expression of the heritable traits is modified by environmental influences, other mechanisms without change to DNA sequence. So this is nature versus nurture. You know, people are always saying nature versus, there are some genetic factors, like I have brown eyes, but as I've gotten older, my eyes have gotten greener. So somewhere in there was some gene that said, okay, my eyes will be green. Okay, but the thing is, there's changes because of my environment. Okay, it has changed because of the environment. It wasn't because, but when I was growing up, they were dark brown. Okay, and they're lighter now. So you lose pigmentation, there's changes in everything that's going on, and the way your body responds. So you have to understand that. Both my parents are left-handed. Not one of my siblings or myself are left-handed. Okay, as a matter of fact, we're the most right-handed individuals that you will ever meet. Okay, it's really, really hard. So why aren't any of us left-handed? I don't know. Okay, but genetics would say, yeah, one of us should be at least left-handed. Okay, so there's a lot that goes on there. Examples of epigenetics. Epigenetic changes alter the physical structure of the DNA. One example of an epigenetic change is DNA methylation. So this goes into the actual dynamics and science of it. Okay, this might bore you, and it might not. Okay, it might not. But I go through this because methylation is an important process of chemistry. The addition of a methyl group or a chemical cap to part of the DNA molecule which prevents certain genes from being expressed. Another example is histone modification. Histones are proteins that DNA wraps around. Without histones, DNA would be too long to fit inside cells. So in other words, it would take this helix, unravel it, and make it longer. Okay? So, I mean, it's really interesting. Does anybody know if you took your intestinal system, okay, which they call your second brain, your enteric system, and you took your intestines and you laid it out flat, how much area it would take?
70 feet?
Nope.
130 feet.
No, huh?
530 feet.
30 feet is the length. I'm talking about actually opening up and laying it all out, and all the involutions and all the different changes. They estimate, huh?
Isn't it like a mile and a half?
It's 300. It would be 3 football fields. Okay.
That's your language. That's some kind of math.
Okay. So because what you do is you take all the convolutions out of there, the diverticuli, you flatten it out. I mean, if you just flatten it. So think about, so what ends up happening is what they're talking about is unraveling this and then taking it out of a cell because it's not going to fit because it's so long. Even our nervous system, which is within our body, how long do you think our nervous system is? And I've read different books, but the one I go with is, think about how long is it from here to Nashua?
40 miles.
About 40, 45 miles. If you take your nerves and lay them out end to end, that's about how long they would be. Okay, some books say about 13 miles, but most of the books that I've read say somewhere in the vicinity of about 40 to 45 miles or even more. So think about, that's all inside your body. And everything is run by the neurology that's there, but also how these genes are expressed are run by that. So it's important to understand. Epigenetics is a reason why a skin cell looks different from a brain cell or a muscle cell. All 3 cells contain the same DNA, but their genes are expressed differently, turned on or off, which creates a different cell types. Reference is Bruce Lipton's stem cell research. So why are we talking about this? Because this gentleman was doing research in the late 60s, and what he would do is he would take genetic material, okay, and take stem cells, okay, and everybody knows what a stem cell, that's what everything grows from, right? And he would throw the genetic material into the petri dish, okay, and watch what it grew. Okay, and if everything should be identical, but if there was a liver cell in there, guess what it differentiated to? A liver cell. The genes, because it turned on certain markers on the gene to say, okay, this is going to be a liver cell. This is going to be a kidney cell. Okay, it didn't just say, okay, well, I'm just going to create this. There were certain things that were turned on and off. Okay, so it's really important to understand this process that happens because we can turn on and off genes that keep us healthy and don't. Okay, this is the sort of factory of stuff going on. You see the methylation, the methyl groups. What they do is they attach into the DNA. And then they talk about the food. Nutrition is one of the easiest ones to talk about, okay, because it's the most easily visualized because it has chemical constituents that they can look at, okay? So, unlike behavior or stress, which is very hard to talk about, but we will talk about stress in a couple of workshops in the end of November and the beginning of December. Diet is one of the more easily studied and therefore better understood environmental factors in epigenetic change. The nutrients we extract from food enter metabolic pathways where they are manipulated, modified, and molded into molecules the body can use. One such pathway is responsible for making methyl groups, and that's this path that you see here. Okay? Important epigenetic tags that silence genes. Familiar nutrients like folic acid. Who knows what folic acid is? Folate, folic acid. What is it important for? What do they tell every woman who's pregnant to take?
To prevent neurotube defects.
Right, because it helps the development of the neural tube. Okay, it helps to prevent neural tube defects, right? So this is an important B vitamin. The folic acid is actually a B vitamin. Okay, so B vitamins and SAMe, or S-adenosylmethionine, a popular over-the-counter supplement, are key components of this methyl-making pathway. Diets high in these methyl-donating nutrients can rapidly alter gene expression, especially during early development when the epigenome is first being established. It's really important to understand that they turn off usually the bad ones. They don't turn off. What they don't say in this is that they don't tell you that it usually turns off the stuff that's actually cancer causing or the stuff that causes the diseases. So it's important that you have these these things in there to fight the free radicals. Eating for two. So this is a really famous study about this, and I bring this up. It was a study done on agouti mice. Agouti, okay, is something that all mammals have. They have a gene called agouti. We all have it, okay? Experiments in mice show just how important a mother's diet is in shaping the epigenome of her offspring. Okay, so when a mouse's agouti gene is completely unmethylated, meaning it's completely on, okay, and it's not hindered, it's not regulated, its coat is yellow and it is obese. So it looks like this, and prone to diabetes and cancer. Okay? When the agouti gene is methylated, as in normal mice, the coat color is brown and the mouse has a low disease risk. So they look like this, thin and healthy. So these are those little field mice that you see running around outside. That's what they usually look like. Okay? Fat yellow mice and skinny brown mice are genetically identical. That's the key. Genetically, these two mice are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. The fat yellow mice are different because they have an epigenetic mutation. When researchers fed pregnant yellow mice a methyl-rich diet, so they're feeding the pregnant mother a methyl-rich diet, most of the pups that they have are brown. You can change the genetic expression by the mother eating healthier. So think about this. It's harder to do it with males, but think about it. If the male and the female are eating healthier, they're taking care of themselves, doesn't mean they're not going to get sick. But if they're starting to take care of themselves, what does that mean for their offspring? They're going to be healthier. They're going to be in better shape. They're going to have a better opportunity. And you know what? It takes 4 generations to bring about certain changes. And if you think about that, in 4 generations, we've become very sick as a human species. Okay, it's not going to happen right away, but we need to teach good habits to our kids. We need to practice good habits, because guess what? It's shown, this is research, this is shown. You can't deny this stuff. Okay, this is shown that you can actually change the genetic predisposition or the genetic expression, okay, or the progeny, based upon just changing the diet of someone, just changing the diet of the mother, and I'm implying the father too, okay, because if the sperm of the father is unmethylated and it's not going to bring any good stuff into it, and no comments, you know, it's definitely something that you have to look at. Okay, so this is a huge thing that we're looking at because we have to understand that. All right, so let me see where I was in this book. Okay, here. This is about Dr. Lipton, who did some of this research. Dr. Lipton began as a cellular biologist studying DNA and stem cells, and this gentleman began his viewpoint of biological ecosystems of species in the environment. This gentleman started from the level of ecosystems, and Dr. Lipton started from the actual biological cellular level. He wrote a book from the biology of belief. Decades ago, Dr. Lipton was studying stem cells. He would put genetically identical cells into petri dishes, and then he would change their environments, the lifestyle choices of the cells. And what he found was the cells got sick in sick environments, and the cells got healthy in healthy environments. That's pretty straightforward. That's pretty straightforward, even though their genes remained constant. No change in the genes, he just changed their environment. He also found that when he took these genetically identical cells and put them with different tissues, they morphed via change in genetic expression into that tissue, is what I talked about earlier. In other words, as an example, if you put undifferentiated stem cells with heart tissue, the stem cells turned into heart cells. If you put undifferentiated stem cells with pancreatic tissues, guess what they turned into?
Kidneys.
Kidney. Stop it! Wise guy.
Just seeing if you're awake.
Yeah. So, okay, so the thing that they determined is that their structure and function, whether they were sick or well, was the environment that they lived in. You can change the way you're living, you can change your health, and you can change the expression of your genes. Okay? You can turn them on or off. That's epigenetics. People think that once they have something genetic, I had a family one time and 4 sisters. The 4th sister ate like crap. I mean, she ate like crap. She smoked. She had like the worst habits. Okay, and the other 3 weren't the best habits, but they were a little better. Those 3 that had little better habits all had diabetes, but the one that ate like crap didn't. I sat there and I was like, okay, this is supposed to be genetic. Why doesn't she have it?
Irony.
Okay, irony. It is irony. But the thing is, if they look, there was something different that she was doing. I don't know what it, but you know what it was? She wasn't in a stressful work environment. So that was the one difference. The other ones worked for, guess where they worked? The post office. Okay, so the thing was there was a difference. Okay, but it is ironic. Okay, but they all had the same genetics, identically. Okay, but one of them didn't have it. So there are some truly genetic diseases that you have to address. You're talking about genetic macular degeneration. You're talking about a Down syndrome. That's a trisomy 21. That's an actual change in genes. Okay, Tay-Sachs. There are diseases, but about 20 or 30% of the time, it's a genetic thing. Okay, majority of the time, it's the habits that we have. It's the things that we do and the things that we change in our lives that make the difference. And you can express or you can express or you can depress those genes by the things that you change. Is it going to happen overnight if you have bad habits over years and you turn on certain things? Absolutely not. But that's why when you go through it, sometimes people feel sick, sometimes they don't feel well, because their bodies are changing. And it's really, really scary. Really scary. He goes on to talk a little bit about how that the genes that we have are like recipe books. Okay? And what is he referring to is, if you think about it, has anybody ever cooked from a recipe, or does anybody like to cook here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I like to eat.
What happened? Oh, didn't go on, thank God. So think about that, okay. So you bring up a recipe that you want to cook, right? And you're reading the ingredients, and then someone else who said over here that they like to cook. Okay, so let's say you like to cook, that's cool, that's awesome. So say you take that same recipe, is the food going to come out the same? Absolutely not. There's going to be differences in the way it tastes. It's like like my mom taught me how to cook. I like to cook. I don't do it as much as I'd like to. But my mom taught me how to cook, and but my food never tastes like my mother's. ever. And it's like, you know, that love, you know, or that little pinch of this and pinch of that. But think about that, it's the same process. It's what you put in, it's what's going on. So those are really important factors that we have to look at. So toxins and supplements. Chemicals and additives that enter our bodies can also affect the epigenome. Bisphenol A is a compound used to make polycarbonate plastics, so that's in a lot of plastics. You can find out if it has BPA in it or not. But it is it's not one of the best things that they use out there. Hey, go back. Many consumer products, including water bottles, tin cans, controversial reports questioning the safety of BPA came out in 2008. Some merchants ceased to carry products with BPA. When pregnant yellow agouti mothers were fed BPA, more yellow, unhealthy babies were born than normal. Exposure to BPA during early development had caused decreased methylation of the agouti gene. However, when BPA-exposed pregnant yellow mice were fed methyl-rich foods, the offspring were predominantly brown. The maternal nutrient supplementation had counteracted the negative effects of the exposure. This is the study that went through on that. And you can see, big fat yellow mouse, nice healthy brown mouse.
I don't know, the blonde mouse looks attractive to me.
You like the albino mouse?
Just saying that.
So, you know, there's a lot that goes on with this. Is it nature versus nurture? Can the study of acquired traits be used to help students prepare their minds for paradigm shifts and improve their understanding and appreciation of science as a way of knowing? This is a major question. Because it's up to you guys learning this stuff to bring it forth. This is the YouTube, if anybody wants, this is the YouTube channel of Bruce Lipton, and it's like the introductory to the things that he does. I'm just going to finish up with a study in here that, let's see if I can find.
I got a question, Sam.
Yes, please.
Methyl-rich diet. What is that exactly? When it comes to human, I guess in a mouse it's probably eating healthy grains or something. But
Well, right, what we do is we address that in the nutrition classes,
Oh,
because
I see.
it's because it's usually things that are high in antioxidants. Okay, and you're eating foods that are high in omega-3 fatty acids and B, like folic acids and SAMI, you know, the things that have naturally occurring antioxidants in it that are huge, fruits and vegetables. Those are methyl-rich diets. That's why they're naturally, some of those diets are healthier. Okay, so those are the things that we're looking at. So this was a study that that I have mentioned a couple of times, and I just wanted to read words. Some of the other literature providing evidence for the importance and effectiveness of lifestyle intervention. One of the most powerful clinical studies I have ever seen published is from Dr. Ornish. Dr. Ornish took patients with diagnosed prostate cancer and put them through a 3-month lifestyle program that included changes in diet, a 30-minute daily walk, and an hour of stress reduction in the form of breathing, meditation, and imagery. The results: the patients lost weight, reduced their blood pressure, and saw many other health improvements. What was most surprising to many was that they found changes in the genetic expression, or the epigenetics, in about 500 genes. Okay, so they actually turned off 500 prostate cancer-causing genes. The gene expression patterns of these men with prostate cancer actually shifted away from the pattern seen in cancer and toward a pattern reflecting wellness and prevention. More evidence that gene expression is a result of lifestyle. There are so many things that you can do, and a simple one is just walking, getting out and walking. And sometimes it's hard for some people, but even if you can do short thing, but some of the documented benefits of walking. Prevents up to 91% of cases of obesity and type 2 diabetes. These are all documented. Prevents up to 50% of all cases of heart disease. Reduce the risk of stroke by 25 to 30%. Prevent up to 50% of all stroke deaths. Reduces congestive heart disease deaths by 63%. Reduce hospital readmission for heart failure patients by 70%. Normalizes blood pressure and reduces risk of developing high blood pressure. Restore and maintain heart and blood vessel health. Restore and maintain normal cholesterol triglyceride levels. Reduce the risk of breast cancer by up to 60%. You want me to keep reading? It's a whole page. Okay, of documented things that you can just, if you walk. if you get up off your butt, okay, and if you can't walk, get on a bicycle, because, you know, if you can't do something because your legs are, get on a bicycle, do something, okay? Yes?
Does walking at work count?
Walking counts, period.
Do it
Okay,
every day.
but the thing is, you do a lot of it every day. I track my steps in here, I take most of my steps in here, just walking back and forth. But the thing is, you do have to, you're physically active. Being physically active makes a difference. Now, if your body gets accustomed to doing the same physically active thing and there's no changes or alteration, you have to alter it a little bit and give it a little bit of a challenge, because if it's not a challenge, it's not gonna work, okay? But this is what epigenetics is all about, okay? You can literally change you can literally change how your genes are expressed in your children and your grandchildren by changing what you do now. And if you think about that, whoever expressed it that way, whoever talked about what's gonna happen in the future, what legacy you're gonna leave behind, what things are gonna happen. You know, when I was growing up, I had a cousin who was a year younger than me, and God bless him, he passed away when I was like 18, he was I think 17. He was a declared schizophrenic, but he was put under so much pressure to succeed, okay? So much pressure to get A's, so much pressure. I mean, it wasn't done healthfully, you know, it was just like forced down his throat, and he was forced and forced and forced and forced. And eventually he went out and, you know, I don't know what he did, but he took something, you know, as any teenager may or may not do, okay? And it changed and altered the expression of his brain structure. It changed and expressed everything that was going on, okay? And he became sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker until he killed himself, okay? It's our responsibility to tell people that they have hope, that there's changes that can be made. There's things that can be done. There's things that we can do to help express our health in a different way. Okay? I mean, but it's up to you guys to say stuff to them. If you stay silent, you're just committing by omission. You're just being part of the problem by omission. You have to open up your mouths. Get people in here for workshops, get people in to get checked, just get people up and moving, okay? Because this stuff, okay, can be changed. And people can be changed, but it takes some work sometimes, okay? And we can change the next generation of people, make a healthier community. And that's what I hope for everybody. Because I don't want to see what happened to my cousin happen to those people that are around you. And you know, the people that are close to you are the ones that we have to help first, okay? Because if we can help them, then it can branch out and ripple out from there. So I thank you for being here. If you have any questions, I'll wait a couple of minutes. I do have to get out of here tonight. But I thank you very, very much for attending the workshop, and I look forward to seeing you guys with more friends and guests in the future. Thanks.
Would you post on your Facebook page a list of books to go to, like this one that you were showing?
You know what? No one has ever asked me that, but I can.
And I get the posts on, they show up on my Facebook.
This book, if this book in itself, the whole you see the reference thing back to it? It's
I got more pen than you, Michelle. I'll be so back there too.
I mean, that's why I mean, these are all
Well,
the
I have mine
references
and I have
that
highlighting
this
on
guy
it
uses.
too, so
Well,
I use that as my excuse.
And I've obviously haven't read all of them, I've read some of the stuff, but yeah, see, there's
Miles of endnotes.
yeah, I mean, there's miles and miles of it. I mean, I can send that, I can make copies of this and you could start with this. Or I can just, you know, you could take
Like
the
the
name.
title,
The title,
Wellness Prevention
yeah, I can make a
Paradigm,
copy.
okay. And there was another one you were mentioning was on your shelf somewhere that,
Oh, about the Human Genome Project.
yeah,
I'll see if I have it up there, if you give me a minute.
okay.
You got your gift certificate? No, you're not gift certificate.
How are you?
Hey,
Doing
thank you,
okay?
sir.
Very long time.
Yeah, you too, thanks for being, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Okay,
problem.
I was supposed to get between eugenics.
Okay.
How you feeling?
Eugenics,
Okay.
eugenics
Still
is,
doing headaches.
eugenics is actually not genetics itself,
They're not gone yet.
it's
but there are
normal,
days-
it's, U means
There are
normal,
days now without.
EU means normal, so it's the normal gene pool. Yeah, so epigenetics is actually the study of what's
You look
on
great.
top of the genes.
Thank
I've
you.
never seen you in like
Okay,
high
it's what's
school.
on top of the genes and
I've only ever
how
seen
you.
you.
T-shirts and.
Yeah,
That's what's
exactly,
called
exactly, it's
epigenetics,
amazing
outside
how,
of. So what ends up
how,
happening
I'm glad
is
you're
how it
saying I dress
turns the
up well.
gene on.
you do, you look very good.
Thank you.
Very
By,
nice, yes.
by,
Um,
my God, I'm losing my train of
So he's
thought.
been
By,
helping you?
by external
Yeah.
exposure,
Yeah.
I've
by
been
something
seeing him
exposed
since
from the
well
outside.
Oh, before,
So
yeah.
that's what epigenetics, eugenics is actually,
And that's why
eugenes
I
or
make
eugenics is
mistakes, a
actually
lot of others,
the
but
study of the normal
we'll
genes.
go around the shop
Okay,
5 or
and,
6
but
times
there is
before
more
I
to it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more complex, it's a lot more complex, but
Would, I never
it's,
sit and-
it does have
I'm coming here for-
something to do with the expression, they do look at the
I
expression,
was, well,
the
wait a minute,
normal
maybe.
expressions, but they don't look at what changes in the
Yeah, because I
expression.
was,
So-
I
I have
was
another
just
question,
after
but it's not
when
about
I
this.
started coming.
You have solar
When I was
panels?
15, so.
Yeah, we just got
The
them up there, they're
originals.
coming
Uh,
in.
Oh, wow.
Coming.
My mother too, we want
Mon-
all
on
the
Monday.
originals.
What company did you get them?
So-
Sundialer.
Great,
Sundialer.
yeah.
Solar City.
When-
Yeah, so
Frank
we,
used to do the-
This is only,
fairs.
Yeah.
supposedly
Yeah, he
this
was
will
one of
only
them.
cover about 50% of the
Yes.
power.
And,
If
that's
I
why
could
they
get this-
connected,
Is it like
and
rent the roof?
The
That's what ours
first
is, we didn't have to pay.
adjustment,
No, I
I
refinanced my
ended up
buildings,
being able
but
to sleep more
they
than
did,
2
we
hours.
did the roof.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because I
They're
had
redoing
gotten
the
to
roof,
the point
but
where
they got that
I'd
side
sleep
done,
about
and then
2 hours
they're
and then I'd
redoing, and
wake up
then
to my back.
they're coming in,
I'd
the,
be up
I
for an
own
hour or
these
two and
panels.
go back to bed for 2
Okay,
hours.
so I own the
Well, we,
panels.
we're
I was in
renting
that
our
sleep
roof, so we
state,
didn't
and I
have to
finally
pay.
got real sleep.
Right,
It's like,
yeah, so
oh my
that's
God.
it, but I'm getting money back
I've
from
been-
the state.
Yeah.
So
And,
how long has it been since you?
and yeah, I wanted to do the 100%, but the building didn't,
We're going into
the
a third
building
year
didn't
now, getting.
appraise at what we thought it would, so
Uh,
we can get a little
12.
money, but you know what, 50% of the power
Yeah.
from solar
June
is
7th,
better than
2012.
nothing, it's a big chunk,
They
So
think
you're
that
past
we
the
can
third
probably
year,
get
when you
most,
before.
most of ours,
yeah.
but
Wow.
it takes a long while just to get Unitil to switch us
But they have me sitting.
Yeah,
in
it's,
the-
we'll see what happens, I'm waiting.
Our
Just-
son has been waiting, I think,
Dartmouth.
6 or 7
And I'm
weeks now.
seeing
and
a
he
naturopath.
switched them over, and yet the panels have been up that
Electroacupuncture.
long.
Yeah,
And the
we have the
natural-
panels, but nothing else is hooked up yet.
And I'll
Okay,
go
it's, yeah,
Now
Unitil
it's
drags
stretching
them,
5,
drags
6
themselves,
days.
they do.
after that
But-
treatment that I've
You know,
got
but you
headaches,
still
so
pull in
very
power
good.
from the
Sure you do.
panels,
Yeah.
and
they
it
build back
registers,
in.
so
I haven't
they're
had
still
a
gonna get
really
If you ever want
serious,
help with any of your presentations,
haven't had a really serious
practice, or
Oh,
headache
sure,
in a
Work on
couple of months. I've
PowerPoints,
had
I'd
some
love
that
to-
verged right on the edge.
Absolutely,
of
yeah, because that's what you
migraine
do.
level.
Yeah.
That's what you do,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
I don't use
enough to-
PowerPoints all the time,
not
but this one I
enough to
just
actually
happen to
send me
have,
yeah,
this one I happen to have that I had to
When
do
it,
a
when it
while
hits
ago.
migraine level.
But I've
I say
changed
I
the
can't
workshops
deal
and
with
No,
it
stuff.
anymore.
they're not.
So,
I get
because I use
migraines.
different
Yeah,
books
Just
and
normal
things,
ones,
and
and
I
they're not
add
fun,
into them.
so,
So,
you know, having the additional
but
part that
it's
you've been
just,
going through, I'm
it's
sure
just,
it's
yeah,
very
any,
nice.
if you have any feedback from me, I'd love to hear it.
yeah, I'd love to
And
have.
on my own,
Yeah,
I'd stop.
absolutely,
If I have a
absolutely.
mild
Thank you.
headache
I
that lasts
appreciate
less than 3 hours,
Yes,
I
dear?
stop recording it.
With my friend Bert.
I know, oh, I know, I know when you saw her, it's like, so you,
This is perfect.
that's good?
Yeah, you can put it in my.
I put an hour, I figured, you know, it's almost an hour.
Yeah, no one's gonna question you, it's just a matter of, yeah.
Yeah.
He's helping me with my CUs, my contact hours for my nursing license.
Ah,
I got audited last year.
Did you?
oh, ouch.
Yeah, first time in 30 years, but I got audited.
Well,
And I had enough, but still, you know.
yeah, you
There's
just,
been some years where I haven't.
right. Well, I keep my stuff too, and, I actually gotta look where I keep it. It's somewhere in there, but it's, I understand it. But, you know, like this stuff, I can even give him this and then give him the referrals that I use for the book. But it's on, I gotta stop the recording.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still recording.
Yeah.